Kirk Herbstreit may have convinced a player to go to Nebraska. Do we have that audio? Can we pull that up, or do we want to paraphrase that? What do we want to do
Yeah,
here?
I can actually pull it up. It's Dylan Raiola. We talked about him last year when he flipped from Georgia, and we asked if there's a problem going on in Georgia right now. And then he flips to Nebraska. I'm trying to pull it up. I'm putting you on the spot now. Give me an insightful take while I'm trying to pull it up, Dave.
Okay, so it's a weird situation for Kirk Herbstreit to be in, because I think he builds a lot of these relationships with players, and I think he gives them advice based off of what their current school is doing and what a prospective school is doing. So he eventually helped convince this young man to go to Nebraska. So let's go to the audio, brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler, looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the Fire Opals, a Tennessee tradition? RickTerryJewelry.com, RickTerryJewelry.com. So let's go ahead and pull that up and see what we got.
His name's Kirk Herbstreit.
Sorry, is something okay? Is everything okay?
Yep, I'm good on my end. Here we go.
All right, let's try this again. Okay.
We'll bring up one guy's name. His name's Kirk Herbstreit. When he saw the smoke about Dylan entertaining Nebraska, he was like, called me. He said, "Dude, is this true? He got to do it. He got to do it." His affinity for Nebraska, for a guy like that to tell me and to get behind me. Look, I knew he needed to do it, but I wasn't going to sit here and say you need to go change that place or be a part of the change at that place. So when Kirk told me that, I was like, man, this is. I've had people reach out, other coaches reach out to me and say, look, the place is special. Coach Rule's a special leader.
All right, and that was the whole clip, basically.
Your thoughts on that? Because right now everybody's going insano saying that Kirk Herbstreit is absolutely recruiting for Nebraska. So let me get your take, and then I'll tell you mine.
I think Kirk Herbstreit was just being genuine and genuinely likes Nebraska as a place and was looking out for the kid. I think Kirk Herbstreit, if there was a bias, here's where the bias is. And I'll tell you where the bias is. Kirk does College GameDay. ESPN and every national network you can think of wants Nebraska to be good, because Nebraska being good is ratings gold, because they are such a draw.
Sure.
And they have not been good in a long time. And I think many people, and guys, if you guys want to know what this is like, you could tell when Tennessee was playing Alabama in the mid-2010s, Dave, you could tell Gary Danielson really hated how down Tennessee was. He wanted Tennessee to be good. It was good for CBS if Tennessee was good and made this a series.
I thought everybody hated Gary Danielson.
People hate Gary Danielson because he reports that Alabama won a national championship and they think he's an Alabama fan for it. Okay, it's ridiculous. Like, they think he's an Alabama stan because he's covering Alabama when they're winning championships. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. No, Gary Danielson, you could tell, though, he kind of wanted Tennessee to be good. You can tell Kirk Herbstreit wants Nebraska to be good. It is good for college football. It is good for College GameDay. If there's a bias, it goes that far. In general, though, I think... Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
In general, though, I think Kirk Herbstreit has connections with some recruits. He has connections with some coaches, and he looks out for those recruits and coaches like a lot of people involved in college sports do.
It's weird to me that he just randomly out and called the guy, and if they didn't have a relationship, that is strange to me. But I'll say this about Kirk Herbstreit. I think he's been nothing but a professional. I think he's fantastic for football. I think he's the John Madden of college football. I think he's tremendous. So I think if he did call and reach out, he was giving the kid the best advice. So what's the kid's background? Is he transferred from Georgia, correct?
Correct, and he's from Georgia.
Well, I mean, he's telling the guy that probably has Georgia ties that you're not going to beat out Carson Beck. And he's probably not saying so, but he's probably heard that from from Kirby Smart. So that, to me, is doing a nice thing for a young man. I mean, I guess we're supposed to get all up in arms in it, but my dealings with Kirk Herbstreit is he's been a really stand-up, great guy. I think he's great for college football. And if he wants to call a young man and say, hey, I think you'd be better off going to Nebraska than trying to beat out Carson Beck, I mean, I got no problem with that, Caleb.
Yeah, and also, he was right. Nebraska's a better place. Nebraska needs a quarterback. And whatever you guys think of Matt Rule, look at what he did at Baylor back in the day. That guy can coach quarterbacks. Can we agree on that? I mean,
Yes.
that is a place to develop as a quarterback. So I agree. I don't know why it's a great place to go for college. Matt Rule can develop quarterbacks. He's building something special there. He doesn't have a quarterback. And if you're good at Nebraska, guys, y'all don't realize, like, Nebraska, I think I don't know how, I think a lot of our viewers skew older so they probably do remember it, but you definitely remember it, Dave. When Nebraska was good, I mean, they were a national draw, weren't they? All the time. Everybody watched them, didn't they?
Yes.
And it's in the middle of nowhere. It is in the middle of corn country. And this school, I mean, just draws eyeballs everywhere. They were able to go, and you remember this too. When Nebraska was such a national draw, they were able to go into California to get players away from Southern California, weren't they? To go commit to Nebraska.
Okay. Now, Rob brings up a point. I'm going to tie it in. He said, I have no problem with him doing that as long as he's not hurting the Vols. What if Kirk Herbstreit talked to Josh Heupel and Josh Heupel said, it's Nico. By the way, we gave him this indestructible pill, so he's never going to get hurt. And Merklinger's never, I know this is hypothetical, right? And Merklinger's never going to play. What if Herbstreit made that phone call to one of Tennessee's players like Merklinger and said, you're better off going somewhere else than Tennessee where you're never going to play? As long as he's being honest now, Rob, doesn't it cut both ways if he's being honest?
I mean, I would have no problem with him doing that either. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you, Dave.
Really?
If I were Jake Merklinger's high school coach, I wouldn't have let him commit to Tennessee.
I wouldn't have either.
I would have steered him away from Tennessee in a heartbeat. And so I think, yeah, no, I wouldn't have had a problem with that as much. I think Kirk Herbstreit is. And by the way, I want to address this conspiracy. Dave, there's a real big conspiracy right now that College GameDay is working overtime against the University of Georgia. And the conspiracy is that's why they fired David Pollock, and now they have Nick Saban coming on to replace him for College GameDay. You got Kirk Herbstreit running, was probably the biggest guy supporting Alabama getting into the college football playoff. And now he's steering a kid away from Georgia to Nebraska. The Georgia fans believe that he's doing that because he wants to make sure Georgia's not as much of a threat to Alabama this next year in football.
That is the craziest
ridiculous
conspiracy reach I've ever heard in my life.
Right? No, there is an honest belief that College GameDay has a secret agenda for Alabama. This is like the people that think that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and the Chiefs are some psyop. You know what I mean? And it's like they're thinking that with like an inside job, like this deep state inside rig job.
Oh, I totally think that could be the case. I don't know, but could be.
No, they think the deep state is rigging the NFL for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just
no.
I
don't think that. I think it could be a PR thing. By the way, I was going to ask you this: is Taylor Swift Travis Kelce's girlfriend, or is Travis Kelce Taylor Swift's boyfriend?
It's Travis Kelce's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Travis Kelce should change his name to Travis Swift if they get married.
Wow. He should be Mr. Swift. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun. Enjoy life better when you see better. Local vision service for LASIK, cataract surgery, and regular eye examination. ccteyes.com. ccteyes.com. Look at me. No contacts, no glasses. I love it. I had LASIK. It was absolutely awesome. You just can't beat it. But, yeah, I would be interested to see how fans would respond if it's not a cut and dry situation if you've lost the job. Like, what if Kirk Herbstreit or somebody with his pool, not that he would do it, but what if somebody with his pool calls Jalen Milroe and says, I don't think Kalen DeBoer is a good fit for you. You need to transfer. That's where the slippery slope is. In this one, it makes perfect sense, and he seems altruistic. if I were him, I just wouldn't put myself in that position. People would, I never told anybody the good, bad, ugly, and different about Tennessee, the good, bad, ugly, and different about other stuff I knew at other schools. Obviously, I knew more about Tennessee, but I never told a prospect anything. If somebody asked, I would hem and haw as best I could. And the smart ones did. The smart ones pulled me aside and said, "What do you really think about this guy? Does he look like a 3-year starter to you?" And I'd hem and haw, and because it's not my job to influence their decision at all. You know that. I'm supposed to be objective and right down the middle. I did share a couple of times that, for better or for worse, what I thought of the situation, but I never went about being proactive in it. So I don't see how this helps you if you're Kirk Herbstreit.
No, I don't think this helps him at all. I think Kirk Herbstreit just loves college football and is just genuinely that involved in helping kids. And I think his big thing is he's trying to help programs. I don't think he's a fan of a school, but I think he wants certain schools to be good. And I think Kirk Herbstreit wants Nebraska to be good.
I don't think that. No. You and I completely disagree with that. I don't think for a second that he's just calling to make Nebraska good. I think he thinks it's the best thing for the young man.
But he called the young man out of the cold. It's not like you brought it up, didn't he? It's not like he was like watching him play and connected to him and things like that. I think he saw a perfect marriage for both sides. Put it that way. He was probably in his mind thinking Nebraska could be really good at the quarterback, and this quarterback is not going to play at Georgia. He'd be really good if he went to Nebraska. I should steer this because it'd be good for him, good for Nebraska, good for college football fans everywhere, because we get to see how that marriage works if it works out. And doesn't really hurt Georgia because they already have Carson Beck. And I mean, Dave, did Tennessee fans lose any sleep when AJ Suggs transferred to Georgia Tech? We're like, oh man, we've lost AJ Suggs. We're done for now.
No, but some people did when Brandon Stewart transferred to Texas A&M.
But that was obvious because Peyton got the job.
No, Caleb, that was not obvious at the time. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit older than you. It was 60-40 Peyton. In the population and in people's minds, it was 60-40. I think that Peyton's the better guy, but that Brandon guy can run. It was not. It looks night and day now. I almost knocked my light over. It looks night and day now, but it wasn't night and day back then.
It was okay. Wait a minute.
I swear it wasn't. I swear.
I know that, but it was. But by the end of the year, it was obvious Peyton was a starter. Peyton started the final 6 games of the year. When Peyton started the final 6 games of the year, you knew that Brandon Stewart wasn't going to take the job from him at that point, even if you leaned Brandon Stewart. So nobody was going to be upset with Brandon Stewart transferring. If they were going to be upset, they were going to be upset thinking Fulmer picked the wrong guy, which, by the way, he did not pick the wrong guy.
True. I tell you what.
And also, if Brandon Stewart doesn't transfer, Tennessee doesn't win the '98 national title. I don't know if you know how that works out.
Pan-seared ribeye says, and he donated to the channel. I miss Sam Ponder. Can I get a That's Hot? What's the wrong one? Oh, but we can get a That's Hot.
That's hot.
Doesn't mean it's going to be smooth. We help pave our way to the Natty at A&M by beating Kansas State. That's true.
Yes, Brandon Stewart beat Kansas State at A&M, and he doesn't do that if he's at Tennessee.